I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting here on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. Ms. McKee, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Sure.
Thank you.
If you could please stand with me and bow your heads. Father God, we thank you for this day that you have made. We thank you for bringing us here safely to our board meeting. We ask you to be with us as we make our decisions for this township called Etna. We love Etna. We want to continue for it to move forward. We need your blessings to continue to go over this township. We ask you to continue to look out for our military as they go out and keep our country safe. And Lord, we ask of you in this blessing over the board as we continue to make the decisions for this township as well. We ask this of you in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Evans, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will make a motion, but I would like to make
I'll
a
second.
change. Second for discussion.
Seconded by Mr. Evans. Discussion?
Yeah, I would ask that we move the resolution for the township administrator under new business up to A. And then keep everything else in order. So we can move along with that. If we could have that done, that would be help us out.
Is there a second to the amendment? Hearing none, the amendment fails. Further discussion?
Yeah, regarding the agenda, again, I think one of the issues we're having with Diligent is it's not being set up properly. It's missing motions, the important thing is to have it set up properly so when you go through the meeting, I think the issues are when it's trying to be changed later. Majority of motions are missing or action items, but I would like to move to amend the agenda to add to new business G, discussion on live streaming and the proposal, I think is the fourth one I provided. And H, a motion for prosecutor opinion regarding the zoning certificate of occupancy issue for the zoning inspector.
Is there a second to the amendment? Is there a second to the amendment? Hearing none, the amendment fails. Any further discussion?
Yes, I find it shocking that this board, again, will not allow simple discussions on important matters. Our zoning inspector is blocked from receiving an opinion from the prosecutor, and I'm attempting to get this moving because there's a certificate of occupancy that was applied for back in May that just sat. And even the check was tried to be deposited, it was stale. This has been an ongoing issue that just didn't come to light now because a nearby resident and I have been talking about this for years. And once again, the board just ignores critical issues that has impacts on our residents' lives. Why won't you allow even a discussion for the motion for the prosecutor on this, or even live streaming? I just don't get it.
Well, we are live streaming tonight, Mr. Evans, so I think that issue's been addressed. But my question was what it is. So what's the question regarding the?
You won't even
the
allow a discussion because that is not a proper system that is able to be used for all our meetings.
Let's stay on
that. Will capture
Mr.
the
Evans,
public comments. That will
Mr. Evans,
capture that. We are staying on topic because I requested these things, and again, I requested many other things that were ignored again.
Mr.
That
Evans,
isn't being
Mr.
addressed.
Evans, we're not going to continue if you're not going to stay on topic. What's the
I
issue?
am on topic.
What's the issue with the prosecutor's office?
I'm shocked that you aren't aware, but
Well, I
not
am aware. I'm
surprised,
asking you.
because they will not provide an opinion regarding the certificate of occupancy issue without the board action, and this board just refused to even address it.
No?
He cannot get an opinion from the prosecutor without our action.
Yes, and why is that?
You want to go into not sending them
No.
the full information like they requested? I made a template, Mr. Burkholder. You failed to provide even basic information to them. But you keep saying, let's not litigate the past, but yet you bring it up all the time. I'm trying to actually address an issue that's been going on for years. There's structures being used that don't have occupancy permits, that are impacting residents' lives. We've got several here tonight that have been complaining nonstop, and you voted to not even allow a discussion on it.
We're not going to add both of those, but I'll move to amend to request the prosecutor's opinion. Would you please get that to us in written form, Mr. Evans, what the question is, since we no longer have an administrator? Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call on the amendment, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, now, roll call on the main motion to adopt the agenda.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, adoption of the minutes, to adopt the minutes from January 21st, 2025, regular meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, once again, I went through the minutes, and there are numerous voting errors, duplicative votes, missing votes, missing motions, missing amendments to the motions. I had to actually watch the entire meeting again to correct it in the 15 pages, and it's astounding the lack of oversight and review here. These are glaring errors, and I was able to finally go through them all today, and I sent the corrections. But again, these are the official record of our proceeding, and the votes aren't even correct.
Well,
And you said you reviewed these.
in fact, I reviewed it again this week, and the administrative assistant, we went through every single thing. There is a problem with diligent. You keep saying there is a problem. It's well documented. The administrative assistant took a screenshot of it, sent it to Diligent. I believe that this is nothing more than obstructive behavior by you. Now, let me finish, Mr. Evans, because you don't want these minutes to be approved, because now the prosecutor either requires the official signed minutes in order to get an opinion or a resolution. So we have all this extra time now doing resolutions because of the problems we've had with previous boards and different trustees contacting the prosecutor directly, to now we have these extra layers of bureaucracy just to get a legal opinion. And we're going to have to continue to go through that until we get some semblance of calm and organization here. So I disagree with you. And so anything else?
Yes. The minute, this has nothing to do with diligent, because the minutes are in Word, and that is what we're reviewing and approving. And that's where we had 5 members voting last time.
I know.
That you didn't catch, Ms. McKee didn't catch, nobody else caught, I caught. And again, it's not to delay, it's to make sure they're accurate. And did you even read my corrections? Because
Yes, I did.
again, motions are missing.
I did.
Amended motions are missing. We had appointment of the TIRC for Ms. Young twice. One wait. It is so wrong, and it's not about delay. Again, it's about accuracy. These are the official records of our proceeding, and you don't care about the accuracy.
Well, I also understand that you made corrections and didn't submit it until this afternoon, and once I looked at those, it's more of a political commentary, because you always like to put in your negative commentary and tear other people down in the minutes, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I'm going to call the question to approve these minutes so we can move this township forward.
With the wrong votes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, motion passes.
And you want to be clerk of court.
Public comments. 3 minutes. Anyone that wants to come up to the microphone, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Wow.
Anyone at this time?
Excuse me, is that on the minutes?
No.
You
Any
can comment
public
about
comments?
anything.
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
Anything
You
at
can come
all.
up to the podium and speak on any topic.
State your name and address and your
My
comments.
name is Scott Mazzaris, 88 Lakeview Drive, Southwest. This is the first meeting that I've ever been to.
You'll have
And-
3 minutes, sir.
Okay. I saw something on social media about, that was posted by one of the trustees that caused me some concern. And I guess if it would have been from just a general resident, it wouldn't have caused us quite as much concern. But since it's from one of you, I thought, well, maybe I ought to go to a meeting and see what the hell's going on down there. Mr. Evans graciously agreed to sit down with me, have a cup of coffee, and talk about some of it, which we did last week. And after talking to him, I thought I would definitely come tonight and ask what's going on with some of these things that he is reporting. Have the two of you seen his Facebook message?
No,
Would you like to?
not particularly.
Oh, so you don't want my concerns?
You can submit your concerns, but Mr. Evans puts a lot of things on Facebook that aren't necessarily correct, but if you have copies you'd like to
I
submit.
could prove each
To
and
the
every one
board.
of them.
Yeah, I have copies for Miss McKee
Correct.
and for you, sir,
That's fine.
right here. Do you want them?
Absolutely, I would love to take them.
You have 2 minutes left.
And how many? I only get to talk once.
There'll
Once
be
at the
2
end,
minutes
too.
at the end too.
Some of these things, while they might be not that important, some of them do appear to be fairly important. And if I only have 2 minutes in which to get any kind of response from anybody, what is the forum that we need to have where some of these concerns can be answered?
Well, you're welcome to come and make public comments at a meeting, but
Well, if I've only got 2 minutes to make a comment and there's probably 15 items on this list,
yes.
I would like to know what's going on with these 15 different things.
Well, Mr. Evans makes a lot of claims that aren't necessarily true. so-
Okay, and maybe that's true.
Right.
But I've learned one thing: everybody lies. So if he's capable of lying, the other two of you are capable of lying. So all I want to do is get your side of the story versus Mr. Evans' side of the story, so we can determine exactly what's going on here.
Well, we can meet with you at a later date, but we are confined to time limits here.
We are confined to time limits because I don't want to be here all night.
You have 30 seconds.
When would you like to meet?
I'll have to look at the calendar. You can call the office and we can schedule a meeting.
I will call the office, just call this office, township
That is
office
correct.
tomorrow. And Mr. Evans, I would like you there.
No, you can't
No, you
have,
can't do that.
you can't have 3 trustees without having an official meeting.
I cannot, can I have 2?
No.
You cannot.
That'd be
That's the law.
Okay, then I'll
Sir?
meet with you. That'll give you time to look over that list.
That's right.
And you can give me a response to some of those items. One more quick thing. Have you ever been audited by the state?
Yes, we have.
Okay, do you have a copy of that audit?
Yes, and you can also get that online if you go to the auditor's state's office, or we could download it for you.
Okay, and
That is online.
what's my procedure for asking for different records on a record request? Do I submit it to you?
Well, you'll submit it to the office.
And they will provide some timely answer to getting those things.
Well, I don't know. We have a long list.
Is my time up?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Speak up.
Rachel Zelazny, 10141 Tollgate Road, Southwest. November 2021, I attended my very first trustee meeting because my neighbors, Caldo Concrete, took out a large chunk of my property while removing 5 wetlands of their own. In doing so, they removed the 30-foot buffer that they were supposed to keep as part of their approved plans. September 29th, 22, they received their very first violation from Licking County. The EPA followed soon after. While they remedied the EPA violation by paying over $200,000, they are still in violation and continue to receive violation letters from the county, which the newest one was sent out last month. Last winter, they built a permanent structure without authorization. February 2024, RBZA denied their variance request for a ready-mix cement plant due in part to this 1-inch thick worth of evidence I had showing damage to my property and the violations that they continue to collect at the time, destroying not only my quality of life, but as well as my neighbors. In May, I brought it to this board's attention that they are occupying the buildings without a building permit, even after recently failing electrical inspections. This winter, they built another permanent structure without authorization and have outside storage on it, which is also not authorized. Last meeting, Gary ended the meeting stating that I had a lot of great questions about zoning. Well, today is March 4th, 2025. We are now 3 years and 4 months later, 2 admins, 2 consultants, 3 zoning inspectors, and 4 trustees since I first came to this building about that damn buffer that is still not there. It's been 3 years and 4 months of me asking questions, and all apart on public record, and Etna Township has not delivered one single violation to this property. I listed off multiple violations last meeting for the umpteenth time, including no occupancy permits on both buildings and the buffer. My question is, when are we going to protect our citizens and actually do something about it? When are my neighbors and I going to have actual responses and movement instead of empathy? Almost 3.5 years is long enough for real answers and a response.
I agree.
You have more time. Who's next, please?
Perfect response.
Well, first,
Rachel, I've been pushing for
You're out of
years.
order.
Oh, you were gonna talk, but I can't talk?
well, we can
I've been
address
pushed,
that.
but as
We
you
can
said, try
address
to
that
get it on the
at the
agenda
end of the
blocked.
meeting. Mr. Hanson, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. John Hanson, Ridgewood Drive, Etna. For the new guy, I can tell you how public records requests work. You make a request. I have all mine outstanding since May, and you can't even get a response. I did get acknowledgement that they got them, but there's no responses on any of them. Mr. Evans is holding up most of them because they are directly having to do with your emails, your videos, and your actions, almost all of mine. The rest of it that we've been trying to get is the cost of the legal. And in case you don't know about this township, Mr. Evans' direct actions have spent $160,000 persecuting just my family, and there's a lot of others too. So what I would like to see is the actual numbers. I have some round numbers, and we can kind of anticipate what they spent suing me because their attorneys cost more than ours, and we spent $27,000. So there is a cost to Trustee Evans, and that cost needs to be flushed out. And I'm guessing that it's going to hit $300,000 to $400,000 is cost. Now this doesn't include all the other things he does in the area, except, the cyberbullying, withholding public records request. 10 people, everyone that worked in this building since he got here in 2022 have left, usually under duress or at his actions. The former building inspector had a restraining order against him for attacking him over there. He has this fantasy story he likes to talk about all the time. If you slow the video down, do some stop action. In fact, if you look at that whole video and the transcript, this whole story between Davis and him, it's a little different than the popular story that's broadcast out there. So, Mr. Evans will continue with his fantasies, I'm sure, but he basically is filming political ads and gotchas. You can see the attacks every time. I'm not understanding the attacks on Burkholder. I guess he's running a 1959 Castro-style campaign where he disparages everyone else to try and lift himself up and make himself look like the only choice. So I hope the voters will find somebody. It will not be me or anybody in my family, but I hope we have a good candidate and a couple candidates to run possibly. But I think we ought to look, since Mr. Evans chimed in 21, look at those records, and then look at his personal records too. He bans everybody off of Facebook that disagrees with him. He has his own person blocking.
I don't ban, delete, block anybody. I can refute everything you've stated.
You're out of order, Mr. Evans.
I
As
know
the
you're-
husband of the
You're out of order.
administrator
You're out of
that
order.
threatened to sue us,
Mr. Evans,
Your Jeep buddy bans him.
you're out of order. Who's next, please?
Me? Which
Bunch
one
of
was that? It's
cronies.
two of them. Okay.
Mr. Evans, you need to stop right now. You do this every meeting. You can't keep any proper decorum.
please.
You constantly call people names. Now, ma'am, you have the floor. Name and
Okay.
address, please.
Phyllis Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road Southwest. First of all, I echo exactly what Rachel has said. We have been waiting and waiting and waiting for the correct things to happen on Tollgate Road with that construction, and with her having, there are things that have happened to her property that are not supposed to happen to anyone. I was told by the zoning inspector that, and he showed us a big picture of when somebody comes in. First of all, they can take your property pins out if they want to, which I believe has happened to Rachel. I believe someone has moved her property pins. That anybody coming in to do that, he said we should take pictures of all the property pins on our property just to ensure that everybody knows where our property is, so that if somebody moves in and they move them, then we have some way to back that up. I think that's ridiculous. I know Ted said that that's just the way it is, and it's called a property dispute, a personal property dispute. I think it's ridiculous. If somebody moves into me and they take all the trees out next to me, I should have some recourse in the township, not Licking County somewhere. I think something should be done. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. The other thing is I wanted to, I believe Mr. Coakley is here tonight. Okay. I just wanted to make it known to him that during all of the snow mishaps we had I took our mailboxes out twice and ruined our road, or ruined our property, but in front of the house. Anyway, across the road there was a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. That sign had been run over by somebody maybe twice, and I believe that it needs to be replaced. That's all.
Good, thank
Okay.
you. Who's next? Anyone else? Very good. I'll make a motion to go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G, and that is to consider the employment and compensation of possible several public employees. We have listed here Township Administrator and also Township Planner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And I would also, in that motion, like the Susan Betzold to be into that executive session as well with us.
I don't believe that's proper. She's no longer an employee.
That's
You don't have to
fine.
be an employee to go into.
That's right. I've requested it, Mr. Evans, and if this motion passes, she'll be in there. And we will not be recording. We will not be recording the executive session.
Unless you bring the deputy in to witness, I will be. That is, you refuse to provide a video camera in there for my safety. And I found out over the weekend why, because that's where you meet outside of public meetings.
That's not true, Mr. Evans.
December 26th.
That's
Yes,
not
I've
true,
got the
Mr.
video.
Evans. That's not true.
So unless the
That's not
deputy's in
true.
for my protection, I will be recording.
Well, then there'll be no executive session. This is the kind of sabotage.
No, sir. I've been attacked in there, threatened.
You have not.
I've been attacked by the former zoning inspector over the secretary's desk.
You are out of order,
I've been
Mr. Evans.
threatened numerous
You're out
times.
of order.
Just had a CPO hearing against the fiscal officer's live-in
Guess what?
boyfriend.
Lost.
And you
what was
lost.
the outcome?
I don't know, do you know why I didn't have some proof? Because Ms. Betzel withheld it until the
You're out
day
of order,
before.
you're out of order.
You lost, Mr. Evans.
The deputy.
You lied, Ms. Coutinho.
I did not lie.
We're not gonna continue the meeting if you're gonna behave this way, Mr.
Well,
Evans.
like I said, unless
So
the
you
deputy's
get-
in there to witness, I will be recording for my safety. Enough's enough. You yourself, sir, have had the deputies called on you and you ran out of here when Ms. McKee did that.
I don't know that the deputy will go in.
Would you be willing to go into our executive session, sir? Sure. Okay. All right, you want to roll call that?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Sure. Yeah, I'll come up.
And we will have Ms. Betzel in there as well.
Yes, right.
Mr. Evans.
Yeah, talk about withholding public records. The day before to review days of video.
Mr. Evans, you're out of order again.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Enough's enough.
You just keep making things up.
I did not, I've got the email. 8:45 Sunday morning. You can review days and months of video today. Fiscal officer lies and then tries to cover it up.
Is there a motion to come out of the executive session?
So move.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
7:47 PM. Now go over to old business. Item A, resolution to adopt the final 2025 budget. Is there a motion
So moved.
to adopt that resolution? Is there a second? I'll second. Discussion?
I reviewed what supposed changes were supposed to be made, and we've got property taxes in the health category. We've still got half a gator, which again, I think the proper thing, if we're expecting to get grants that are paying for that, you have the full costs and you do the revenue on the other side. So I'm not sure why that wasn't changed. And then we're discussing a 3 to 5 year budget. I don't think it's appropriate to kind of just take this year isolated, not taking into account the future expenses, because things are going to get more expensive, but we've got more other projects and that. So I just wonder why that hasn't been provided.
Any comment that the fiscal officer?
We haven't gotten to that point of the 3 to 5 year budget out. We're still working on putting some other stuff into the UAN that wasn't in there from prior. Like all the debt service and stuff like that. There are things that are being reclassified and everything.
Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions for Mr. Kirby, since he's our fiscal consultant?
I mean, just the questions I asked, is there a reason that the gator wasn't changed to the full amount? It still says half a gator.
It's in two different funds. Half in one fund and half in another. Is that's what you're asking? We didn't put it all in one fund because like the cemetery is going to pay for some of it. Park is going to pay for some of it.
Okay, so it's two separate, okay.
Yeah.
And then regarding the property tax in the health category,
Yeah, the health department is the one that's charging that, and it comes in on your property taxes. So that's why it's there.
well, the health department doesn't charge property tax.
No, well, they get a portion of your property tax.
So that's one of the fees or deductions that's taken care of at the auditor's office?
No,
is
we
that-
could put it somewhere else. You know, I put it in two different funds though. One is called property tax and one's called health department.
Right, that's what we were trying to figure out before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's still under 1,420.
so that's,
But we could put it wherever you want it. I just try to keep it consistent.
It just seemed like a very large amount.
Now,
And
it's,
I do have a question, because I've been reviewing our properties and taxes paid, and some were paying property tax, others were not, were only paying like a sewer fee.
watershed.
There's a ditch petition on one,
Right.
but why we're even paying property tax on some, because like behind Laurel Drive, there's 0 property tax and just the ditch petition, but we're paying property tax on these two, which we're using it, this is storage, so I don't understand why we're paying, why that hasn't been reviewed and I guess corrected.
Yeah, and again, this is the time to do it, so it's not on the 2026 taxes, it's too late for this year. So you'd have to go to the county auditor's office, get the corrected forms, and you have to go through them and tell them that this is not going to be for rent, it's not going to be, you're not going to rent it out, it's going to be for public use. And then that way you give it back to the auditor, they send it to the state and approve or disapprove, and that's where you get them all. Yes,
Right.
but each property should have that done. If it's
Correct, because we're spending quite a bit on the property tax when we shouldn't. But yeah, on what was the total for the property tax under health?
Was it 60,000?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
What was the total property tax under the health category, health department?
It's 420. It was
That's
$60,000,
what I thought.
and I split it between the two, one for property tax, one for health
But
department.
our total property tax is right now, I think, at like
15,000?
16,000. So why is, you're saying 60,000 and it's split? Are you saying 120,000 is in the budget for property taxes?
No.
Or you're saying 60?
Yeah, 60, that's it.
Well, why do we even have 60 when it's actually 16? I mean, 20 would be more. It seems like we're overstating that now.
Let me take a look.
By 3 at
Let me
least,
take a look at last
or
year.
4.
I think that might have been because of the farm last year.
Does that charge come before there's
Yeah,
distribution by the county auditor?
they take it out.
They take it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
But we show it in our
Last
financials.
year you spent about 35,000. Is what it was. We can knock that down. The health department's going to charge more this year, and the property taxes. I don't know about yours, but my personal property taxes on an acre and a half went up $700 from last year to this year.
But when they give us our distribution, they show the fees that have been withheld, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So we show that in our books as
you have to do a memo
as an
receipt
expense,
in UEN
memo receipt.
of what the gross they paid you.
Right.
You go subtract the property tax they withheld, which gives you your net.
Okay. That may be the reason, Mr. Evans.
But again, property taxes, I don't know if your guys just went up here, but mine went crazy. In the last 3 years, my property tax went up to $1,400.
Yeah, well, the valuations, and of course, if you have any levies or anything, so this needs to be filed by the 31st of March, correct? I just have, and I'll let my colleagues, do you have anything?
I'm
Ms.
still
McKee?
going through it because he corrected, I had the same questions Mark had, but you made it clear, so I'm
And,
good with that.
Given what I've seen, that there's a lot of cleanup work. I mean, over the years, certain things get in certain categories, and I think Mr. Kirby, working with our fiscal officer, and comments from the board, there are a lot of things that need to go in a different category so we have more detail and we know exactly what that expense was for. So I'm encouraged, but there is more cleanup work that needs to be done, but we need to pass a budget so that we can move on and make appropriations, but I think there'll be tweaking throughout the year.
Yes.
As we learn more about the budget, we have some grants that have been committed to us. We haven't had expenditures yet. Some of those are reimbursement grants. So I'm in favor of passing this tonight with continued input to work on these areas that need to be cleaned
I
up.
did have one question on
Go ahead,
that.
sir.
It was the largest amount that prior year, that 630,000 that wasn't categorized to roads. What was that? Was that properly allocated on this? And what was the expenditure for the road maintenance and repair? I'm trying to find it.
Is that
Under which fund are we talking about?
General fund, which is the health district total, is that the one above the parks?
Well, I
and
believe
He's
it was
talking about the
roads.
one where we paid for the,
Treatments to the
Paving.
roads, Strauss.
Oh, chip and seal.
Paving category, typically it was budgeted at $1 million.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think you had 180,000, which was under that 630 that we actually paid. I'm just trying to see where that is in here.
While you're looking for that, let me just comment that I don't think we'll have it in 2025, possibly in 2026. I'll bring it up at this time that it could be as high as 1.4 million that the township will be responsible for Pike Street out here. Out of the, we're getting 2.6 plus another around the 500,000, but we have to come up with some match. And then there's construction oversight as well. And we have applied for the Ohio Public Works Commission for partially a loan and some of it grant, around $399,000. So there'll be a lot of adjustments to this budget depending on whether we get awarded this year or not. So it will have to be amended.
And those costs is why I say we should be looking at the future to determine this one, because you know what you've got to plan for. And right now, we're just looking at the year.
Well, that's correct, Mr. Evans, but it's part of the process, and that's what we're all working toward with so much staff. We have one fiscal officer. I'm glad we hired a consultant to assist in this. And everybody, there's a lot of information out here, and I'm positive that the board is looking at the details, but by the same token, it doesn't happen overnight.
Well, we've already had previous 5-year budgets. They just need to be updated. They're not.
I know, and I don't know that we ever had a discussion on any of those budgets
We did. You were sitting
publicly.
well,
You mean the specifics of those budgets?
no, we haven't.
those budgets prior to you becoming trustee. You actually helped with those. But where on here is the paving category, Chris?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Where's the paving category?
That's the one where we.
I don't know if I'm just missing it
Well,
or.
that was the one that had the $670-some thousand last year. That was for road improvement. That's what that was paid for out of the general fund.
Well, that was just when we talked last time, it was like 183,000.
Now, we
in there.
talked about
760,
900,000. We did talk about 900,000 this year, but
Yes.
if we did 900,000, that would put you into the negative fund balance. So I had to put that back to 700,000.
But I'm saying, where in this, what's
What fund code?
the fund, because
730.
either I'm looking past it or
It's in red. I have to look for it. I'm sorry.
you put it in red.
Well, it's got red print.
Because I see for parks, it's not capital outlay. I see electricity in red.
720.
Other professional services.
Yeah, right here. It's 2031-330-360. It's under roads and bridges. We was hoping to put 900,000 in there, but I only put 700 in there because if we put the whole 900,000 in there, you'll have a negative $108,000.
What file is that in? I'm looking at the 2025 annual appropriations budget PDF.
Look under roads and bridges.
Well,
There's a tab down at the bottom.
I'm looking at the PDF, so it's not a.
Oh. And
I sent you the Excel.
you're looking at the resolution itself. Is that what you're looking at?
No.
He's looking at the spreadsheet.
I'm looking at the PDF that states, so what it looks like is the other tabs weren't exported.
You want,
So-
I got it right here. It might, I'll just print it. It might be on too short paper.
So I'm looking at what was uploaded in Diligent.
Oh, yeah, that, I don't know nothing about that program. I actually The new plow vehicle, I did put that in the gasoline tax too, instead of in the road and bridges. Yeah, I don't want you going to a negative fund balance.
Yeah, you can't have a negative fund balance, but during the year then, if we have an extra expenditure, am I correct, we can transfer from the general fund
Yeah.
and expend it out of there, but we
Yeah.
can't appropriate more than what our estimated revenues are in that particular fund.
Well, we can allocate general funds to that fund transfer and
Well, that's just what I said.
Yeah, you can, the best way to do that is just do a resolution to transfer to whatever,
Right.
whether it be roads or bridges or whatever fund you
Yeah.
want. Yeah. And you got 90,000 actually to be transferred to the debt service to pay for your loans for Refugee and Huntington.
Yeah, so some of the loans we have, will transfer money in to cover
Yeah.
those, correct?
So okay, I think I might have found it. Are you saying under contract services?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
You have anything else, Ms. McKee?
I don't.
Mr. Evans?
Not at this time, we could always amend it.
You can always call me too, whenever you want, I don't care.
I'm going to move for the adoption of the following resolution, and that would be Resolution 2025-009, and that's the Township Annual Appropriation Resolution, and that'll be for the year ending in December 31st, 2025. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Etna Township, Licking County, Ohio, that to provide for current expenses and other expenditures of said Board of Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, the following sums be, and the same are hereby set aside and appropriated for the several purposes for which expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year as follows, and declaring it an emergency. And that appropriated value, total appropriations for 2025 will be $6,972,190. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Evans.
The only thing on that, the emergency statutes I don't believe will apply to us.
You have to have it done by March 31st.
Yeah, but it's not, I don't think it's like a city council
Well-
where you can bypass readings.
Well, appropriations are by nature
Yeah.
immediately effective, but it doesn't hurt to have it in there, so.
I
Roll
just
call.
want to know what was in the Ohio Township handbook.
Sure, no, that's fine. Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. McKee.
Yes.
Budget is adopted for 2025, and I appreciate everybody's work on that. The treble contract.
You done?
See you later.
Mr. Evans, do you have an update on
It's
the?
over.
Well, we had a Teams meet, discussed some of the options. They're trying to push us into a 3-year agreement, which I don't believe is appropriate. They were supposed to get us some terms for 12, 15, 24, because what they were proposing on gas, and that was to do whatever the cost was with a 2% discount. They came back with, for like a 12 and 15 month term, electric at 0.09, 25 and 0.09, 35. However, anybody just go into the apples to apples site that you can lock in those terms, you can get it at 10.25% and 7.6% cheaper. So they're asking us to either get into, like I said, a 3-year term, which extends it past, I think we've got another 15 months on their underlying contract. So I don't think we should extend anything from that, but like I said, right now, the gas is up in April 1st, and I think it's May 1st for the electric. But right now, we could actually send everybody to these options and they would have a 10.25% savings. So at this point, without, we haven't any legal review of the underlying contract in that, which I think we still need to do, but I don't think we need to take any action right now because those rates are even cheaper at the moment. So if everybody does get pushed back to the current supplier, it would be cheaper, and we could even do a mass mailing through the wind waste card saying, hey, you can sign up for this rate and actually be cheaper. So it seems going with treble is the more expensive option, which it was when we entered in the agreement last time too. And this is about, you know, providing, the whole idea of aggregation is to have the most savings for our residents. And as you recall, the board even voted to go away from the treble aggregation into a cheaper arrangement for the township, but also the lighting district saving significant sums. So I'd like to talk to the prosecutor. I believe that's already been approved for this use. Is that correct? Or
Well,
I don't know what's been forwarded.
Did you get with the administrator? Because she forwarded those questions over
We-
there. Did you have any additional questions that you gave to her?
We, no, because they did not provide the information until I think it
Okay.
was that Friday evening.
Okay.
And so I think that all needs to be sent to the prosecutor.
What needs to be sent? What they sent?
They have a proposed contract extension, a limited agency authority, which I think that needs to be reviewed. It kind of gives them the authority up to a certain amount just to change us. And I think currently right now, they might have the option of securing a better rate under a certain amount, which is still higher than what anybody could just get, and lock us into 5 years. I mean, it was a horrible contract, but even this contract, it needs to be stated that they're saying everything, every paper that they give us is confidential. It's secret. I don't believe that. I think it's public records. That's one of the things that needs to also be answered by the prosecutor. So I think at this moment, again, in April and May, depending on when the billing cycles are, it would end, but we still have that 15-month underlying contract that I don't think we should ever get into again. Okay. So we could just let that run its course and direct people to the cheaper option or that, but I think we should definitely, I need to speak to the prosecutor a little bit more. Or at all. I've not spoken to them.
Well, we're going to have to talk to the prosecutor about the process again because they've been very picky about giving us opinions without any.
Well, we already approved that, and the board approved
Yes,
that I and the administrator worked with this, so we already have the approval.
So, well, then let's find
So
out.
I'll forward that to Bryce, and I guess wait to see what they say.
Very good. Item C, the garage repair.
Yeah, the garage repair, we provided those two quotes. One was for the rib metal and one for the standing seam. I've been in contact with other contractors. One has agreed to provide a price by Monday. They're going to come out on site. It was one of the preferred contractors by the actual vendor. So they're coming out, they're doing a lot of fire departments and stuff like that to get another price. I've talked to others that just aren't willing to provide a bid.
Okay.
So Monday I'll have that alternative price, and I guess depending on how that compares with the previous one we received, we can decide if we want to kind of move forward. The one thing with this other contractor too is they participate in the state bid process. For the different agencies, so the pricing's kind of set in that way, just depends on kind of what's there. So I'll forward everybody Monday when I receive that from them. And again, this week I'll schedule a site visit. I've already notified Mr. Copley that we'll be doing that, and I'll continue to try to find other contractors, but like I said, some are just refusing to provide a bid.
Okay, very good. MKSK, High Point Park and Pike Street. You should have the information there. We've got two authorizations from MKSK. The first one is actually $77,940, but I would suggest that we approve that for $80,000, and that is to get the High Point Park reconstruction or renovation project moving forward. You've had the proposal there, and this is just to do the construction documents and the rest of the planning that's necessary. The state of Ohio has indicated that on the state capital grant for $150,000 that they would like those monies or the project completed by June of 2026. So this is necessary in order to get this moving forward. We also have a purchase order for that amount. Of course, that amount, will be billed over time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on that. So I will make a motion to approve that High Point Park work authorization estimate from MKSK. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Now, this does not fall into any required bids or anything with the $75,000 limit?
No, and we have Chris Herman and Amy K. Taylor that are here from MKSK, so if you have any questions for them, they'll be able to come up and answer any
Now,
questions.
is this only for the park?
High Point Park. Now, there's a second one here for $30,000 that would be, which would cover additional work that's needed to be done on the Pike Street project, which we're getting to go into phase 3 on that. So things like and I've given you examples of the trees, and also I took examples of the 2 retaining walls that are in Reynoldsburg. They have 2 different ones. So and of course you don't have to decide tonight, but when we have that next Pike Street meeting and also with MKSK, then I'd like the board's input on which retaining wall they would prefer. And they can speak to that tonight as well briefly. And if you have any questions regarding the trees, we definitely want trees that are not going to interfere, obviously, with the power lines or anything, or interfere with the snow plows in the street. When you apply for federal funds through the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, though, they do like complete streets, which include the streetscape and those kinds of things, which have been incorporated into that project.
Now, question on the High Point Park one for, you said
Was there a second?
80,000?
Was there a second on my motion?
Rosalind. Yeah.
Very good.
I see that. Now, as far as the design of that, are we roping in our park committee to provide recommendations?
That's a
or-
different project.
Yeah, I know we have the new park, but this park, are they just designing it and we're gonna accept that?
Well,
Or,
we can certainly have the park committee weigh in on that as well and present to them.
I mean, so I don't know if they're planning something for duplications or hey, we can put that there and we're putting this here. I thought I saw it somewhere in there where they provided like 3 meetings with the trustees and public input.
Sure.
I just didn't know if we want to, again, rope in the park committee who, has been working on that stuff and might have something to say. The other thing was on the other authorization, the $30,000 one.
Right.
It references the High Point Park.
Yes, and that would be split. That's why we put it as, that's an additional contract if there's any additional work, such as assisting with any additional grants or anything that we might need, but also the continuing work on Pike Street so that we can finish up that project.
But shouldn't we kind of split it to the park and Pike Street? Because again,
They will be
for
billed separately.
funds, it will be billed and kept separate because
Yes.
this is together and
Right.
we can't spend highway funds on the park and that, so we need to make sure that it's separate. So as long as it's-
That's a good question, and we talked about that already, that those will be separate invoices on the billing. So one will pertain to Pike Street and the other will pertain to High Point Park. But we did it as one authorization.
And who's authorizing this additional, because this 30,000 you said is for additional work, who's authorizing that additional work?
That'll be the board. That's the second one down here.
Okay.
Yeah. Design services.
So you're saying that we'll authorize the 30,000, but if it comes to it, the board will have to vote for those additional services?
What do you mean, vote for them?
You're saying when it comes to, who is approving or directing them to engage in additional services?
Well, we're authorizing it now because there will be that as far as
Right.
those
Who from the
specifics.
township?
Well, it'll have to be the administrator, but until we get an administrator, there's work that has to be done now on Pike Street.
Right, I'm just concerned,
I
and you're gonna say
understand
about
what you're
passive, but Pike Street, we had that open house, and I asked them about who authorized the changes,
I know
and
you
they
did.
said the board did, and the
Yeah.
board didn't, it was Mr. Burkholder that did. So I'm concerned that 30,000 is quite a bit, and if it's not managed properly, that's my concern.
Well, Mr. Evans, since we got an administrator, which we don't have one now, the administrator has been involved in all those discussions and has attended the meetings. And we haven't had a lot. But the engineer also indicated that if we had to bring everything back to the board on every single item, these projects would never get done. And I understand, I have no problem answering what the money's gonna be spent for, you know, what the next cost is gonna be, but we have a lot of contracts like outside legal counsel that things get forwarded to it by the administrator to keep things going. We have a question, so I don't have a problem bringing anything back to the board. But I want the board's support so that we can keep these projects going and on track, particularly as it comes to High Point Park. Plus, if the Pike Street project is gonna take place in the spring of '26, that's just right around the corner. So feel free to forward your thoughts on kind of trees, but if you have any questions at this time, we have MKSK representatives here, and I would suggest, do you want to hear from them?
Yep.
Ms. McKee?
Absolutely.
Mr. Herman?
Hi.
Ms. Taylor? Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And you've got some photographs of all those as well.
So yes,
Go ahead.
the first, I believe the first scope approval is for the High Point Park, to continue that on for the grant money.
Right.
And then the second one is to help with Pike Street, but we did throw in things like High Point Park because there are going to be other grants
Yep.
that could become available, and if you would like us to help, and again, we won't do it without direction, but if you'd like us to help in those kinds of things, we want to make sure we mention that in the proposal, because that had come up before.
I'm glad you clarified that, because that could come back to the board, Mr. Evans, if there's another grant. But quite frankly, given the amount of work there will be for the new administrator, and we use consultants all the time on a variety of projects. For example, we're not designing Pike Street, the Transportation Improvement District is doing that, and we've paid quite a bit of money to them to do that. So it's kind of the normal course of business, but that's the reason so that we can keep these things moving. And there are a lot of other grants out there in other areas as well that we don't have the staff or the time to apply for.
And we'll put exhibits together that we'll share, that they obviously can share with the board.
That's my concern, that the board is just informed, and like, it wasn't, so.
Well, I
We
understand.
need to change, we just need to change that.
Well, Mr. Evans, we're trying to keep things moving forward, so I'll roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then I'll make a motion to approve the MKSK Design Services Agreement, which is for $30,000. Is there a second to
I'll
that
second.
motion? Any further questions on that from Mr. Herman? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Burkholder?
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and being patient, but we
Sure.
appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
I did have one question
Yeah, go
on the Pike Street. What are we doing about the cost for the water movements? I know on, I think January 7th, it was in the administrator's report. We're going to discuss about that. I guess there's some conflict with the water district saying that doesn't apply to us. And that, where do we stand? Do you know what that has been?
Yeah, it's not been resolved, and I've asked that question. It's kind of been bounced around because they they have been resistant to, and that cost may have gone up, it's at least $100,000 for a relocation of the water line. And they're pushing back, and according to the TID director though, there's correspondence or past practice from ODOT that they do need to pay for that because this, well, now it's the regional water and sewer district, because their water line is in our easement, not their own easement, so therefore, plus, which is probably good practice when they relocate that, they want to do some maintenance. For example, a lot of those bolts now, they've got a new thing that doesn't corrode, that's an old line in there, so it has not been resolved.
So do we have our legal counsel looking at that, or are we relying on TID? And
Well, we've talked to the TID and there's been discussion, do we want to send that to the prosecutor, or do we want to have ODOT's legal counsel basically dictate that you're going to have to do this? And that's not been resolved. But my position is very strong that they should pay for that. That should not be a
correct,
township
it's not
cost.
in their easements and our easements.
That's correct.
right.
Now,
Yeah,
there's
so-
been some discussion like rerouting it, could they do something maybe a little bit different? And again, there's not a lot of, I mean, it was an in-depth conversation, but nothing was resolved. And it actually got a little testy at times.
And then one question, I know there's with the cement
And by the
stabilization.
way, our township administrator was on that call, teamed in on that call, so she heard everything that was said.
Okay. But as far as I saw, the cement stabilization said in the pocket of that,
Yep.
it might impact them even more. Is that correct? Or you might not be the
I
one
was
that asked.
in that
Yeah,
conversation.
They're more on the design, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I figured.
And that's the email we got, that they have to go in, and when you have bad soils, you have to put a compound in there that hardens and gives it that soil stabilization so you can build.
And
the
as
road.
far as the design, how much of a retaining wall part of the project is needed? And who's responsible for maintaining that? Because typically sidewalks and stuff is the property owner's responsibility. Is that the same for retaining wall? Are we taking that on, or?
I don't know that we've had the discussion on that, but a retaining wall is going to be required because of the elevations, and I don't know, there might be 2 or 3, don't quote me, but it's not that many properties, but it does change as you get further east. If you look at
I
some
just
of the-
think residents
some
are
of the
gonna, I mean, they've already asked what their responsibilities are. I mean, the one side's got a 6-foot sidewalk and then a 10-foot path.
Right.
Are they responsible for that, because, or is that not a side? I just think some of those answers could be answered now to alleviate some of the concerns of the residents on this.
Well, they are in the right of way, but I think it's a good question, and in fact, it's kind of interesting you bring that up, because it's been a while back, but at the Licking County Planning Commission, it was stated that the multi-use path and then High Point, the development down there behind Speedway, that the township would be responsible for.
Have we gotten documentation of that? Because I haven't seen anything. I've asked the county, and they said that would be with our documents, and
I haven't seen anything, I don't
because
know.
we were told before the NCA that everybody's got to be in it, and that was, I just think we
Right.
need to see these documents and verify it. But like I said, I have heard from several residents who were concerned about who's responsible, because they really don't have a say about the 10-foot path, but are they responsible for repairing it? And are we still looking at asphalt instead of concrete on that 10-foot path?
That is correct.
Yes, asphalt.
Do we want asphalt, or do we?
Well, you can go concrete, but it will cost more,
It's a
so,
lot of money.
Is it
and
much
I'm.
more durable?
Well, but there's maintenance to that as well, and the maintenance is a little bit easier on asphalt when it comes to cost, but cost is a consideration in this project, and I brought it up, and we can have a work session or whatever, but I think we need to talk budgetary wise. We've got that loan grant combination, we've applied for it, no guarantee we're gonna get it, we haven't heard yet, but it's 1.4 million. Which I was told by the TEID, the previous board said, well, we're gonna take it from the JED, or we're gonna take it from this or that, but I've not seen anything specifically how we're gonna pay for that.
There's a lot of things that we've been looking at the JED to pay. I mean, looking at the
Yeah,
refugee road payment, I mean, you can only spend the money once.
So that's why you have to be creative with the jet movement of the money.
Well, and that's where I was saying it's really important for that 3 to 5 year outlook of what our expenses are.
Mr. Evans, I do not disagree with you, but it takes human beings in here working on those projects. And I can tell you firsthand, and I think you really know it too, and I know Ms. McKee does, there's far more work than we have staffing. So I hope that in the very near future, we can get our staffing up to where it needs to be. And I'll take this opportunity now. The comments, I don't disagree with these complaints about some of these projects and the problems and the occupancy permit. I mean, I was in the office when they found that check. That check was buried in the file. But the turnover of employees doesn't help anything.
No, but for a long time, we've had consultants, we've had outside.
Well,
And stuff like the diligent can make it more efficient, and there's a lot of things that we're not doing.
Do you have any more questions on this?
No, not further. Thank you.
Did we vote on the second one?
Yes.
Okay.
We already voted.
Very good, then we're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, you have the Keller Farm contract in front of you. Any questions? I know we approved that at a previous meeting with corrections, and we've got that, so I'll be signing that since we don't have an administrator.
Well, don't we have to change it because we approved the administrator to sign it?
I have no problem with that, so I'll make a motion to have the president
Is
execute on the
Kevin
contract.
here or no?
Is there a
No,
second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, my question is the payments required, when does he get his revenue in? Because it's looking like we're requiring a half the payment March 15th, which is coming up.
Right.
Is that standard? Is that fair?
It's
Was it?
standard, yes. For a farmer to pay for land, it's standard for somebody to pay every 6 months.
Yeah, he's paying before he's even planted the crop or harvested.
Was that
it.
done before?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
thank you. Motion passes.
I have the original for you to sign, Gary, so.
Thank you. I'll make sure I sign that tonight.
Yes, I will.
Is there a motion for Resolution 2025-008, the contract with Management Advisory Group for an interim township administrator?
Are we doing this backwards if there's potential action on
No, it's on the
the
agenda.
administrator?
It's on the agenda here, so
That's why I wanted to move it down.
what's your pleasure? I'll also move to approve that contract for the interim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I did have a question. I don't think it is, but was that reviewed by legal, the contract?
That was reviewed by our administrator.
Okay, because it contains clauses for interest, which our prosecutor stated that contracts with us cannot contain that, so that's in there, which raises some concerns about
Yep.
the other things. And then there's a per month charge of $14,000, but it's billed bi-weekly. So how is that going to sync up? Are they going to be doing proposal hourly rate, or are they, in their mind, 4 weeks to a month, but really there's more, so it'd actually be more than the 14,000 if you kind of extrapolate that out. And then,
I think it should be billed probably with the regular, you're saying it should be monthly or?
the cost is per month, but it's billed bi-weekly.
Right.
But there's partial weeks in each month, so
Yep.
how is that being billed or calculated is my question. And then there's an additional insured requirement that we maintain that for a year. Is that proper legal? I know in private business, I'll provide that to some people in my business, but is that something, again, that we should be doing?
Well, I'm going to ask at this time if the former administrator, if she would be willing to come and speak to that, only in that that was referred to her, Mr. Evans, to the administrator to review. Or if she has any,
It's on the agenda.
So I wanted to move it around. Not making sense.
and I hate to impose, but I appreciate the assistance in trying to get this transition.
Sure. So at the request, at our request to have Management Advisory Group.
Is this the same group we used when we hired you?
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
said-
Who had informed us that they had interim services that they could provide to the township, which this conversation came up actually when we were having the conversation about the two candidates and getting the information regarding them. And so they had had a previous contract with another local entity. They sent us the contract. I did have the exact same question about the interest. I should have probably stricken that from the contract. I had the thought and then didn't go back and do that. It was in the last couple days, unfortunately, and things were kind of hurried. And so, what was the second question on?
Well, there's the interest,
Right, but
the
what was the
additional insured.
Oh, the additional
Contractor email is blank for notification. That was another concern of how we notify them. Are we gonna just do it by mail or should have an email in there?
Oh, the email is blank. I was gonna say they filled that portion out. I filled our portion out.
Right, it's their portion's blank for the email.
Just for the email,
notification.
but not for the rest of it. I mean, they still have the name and the address. Yeah, and again, we do know what the email address is for them.
But as far as the additional insured, should we be doing that to extend it for an additional year? Or should that be part of their professional services? They have insurance or?
They do, and honestly, that's a provision that honestly is up to you guys. I mean, that's what they are requesting in the contract. Whether or not you do that, that is an overprotection for them because there's a lot of things that can happen at a place of employment that may or may not be covered by their own insurance. So if I'm them, I put that in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree to that.
But can we put that in just like the interest? You would think if somebody doesn't get paid, we've had late payments here for quite a while. They can't get interest,
But the additional,
but they're not allowed to.
right, but the additional insured, I thought was for purposes of if there was any liability here
Correct.
at the
But I'm saying,
township.
can we provide that to them or? is
We
that up
always
to
can
us?
add an additional insured to our insurance, but whether or not you choose to do that, I think is up to the board. I left it in there because that was one of their provisos.
I just think I'm uncomfortable when things aren't reviewed by legal.
Would you like to send this to, I would suggest if we'd like to, which I'm fine with that, would you like to send that to our labor attorney? Because to send this to the prosecutor could take weeks.
Well, you need another resolution tonight in order to send it to them.
Well, but to outside counsel.
What outside
No,
counsel?
I meant to the
Right.
prosecutors.
Or would that be Bricker and Graydon?
I don't care either one. I'm
Because they're laborers, it's really laborers, it's just contract law. or
Well, this would be
considered labor.
contract, they
It's
probably both
contract.
could do it since we have contracts with our labor union, but I don't care either one. I'm just bringing it to the board that those are good questions, and the quicker review, because the longer we go without any support there,
Yeah.
the more it's
Well,
gonna cost the township.
I-
I'll entertain a motion. if we-
I would,
Wow. So
Do-
you guys are talking about spending $14,000 a month to have somebody.
And
as an
that
intern?
that does not include any insurance or
That's,
benefits.
okay, but I'm just letting the
Oh, that's
residents
fine.
know.
Mr. Evans, do you have any?
well, I'd move to approve the resolution 2025-008 upon the approval of the outside counsel Benjamin, what's this, Albrecht?
For Ben Albrecht,
Yeah,
for their firm.
for their, yeah.
And this is per month, 14,000 per month. Correct?
I'll second that motion with those conditions. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
No.
very good. I'm not gonna make a motion for passage of this tonight because I don't think you've had enough time, but we have a new community authority intergovernmental agreement approval. And this document was an outgrowth of a decision that the new community authority for Etna Township, I think it's been several months ago, Mr. Davis, the president of that board, is here tonight, where we, the township, requested $125,000 to be used for this High Point Park, as far as, since they have monies in there, and this is what the new community authority was set up to do, provide community amenities. And the board voted unanimously at that meeting. There were only 5 members there. I think a couple were absent, but to, on a reimbursement basis, award us $125,000 as we get into this project. Subsequent to that, Kip Waller, who actually does work for, is paid by the township, drew up this contract. And so I wanted to bring it to the board, give you enough time, probably bring it back at the next meeting. Even though it's our attorney, Mr. Evans, I think you bring up a good point. Do we want to have more counsel to take a look at it?
Well, that council is for the NCA.
Correct.
Although we're reimbursing, I don't think they represent our interest because they're directed by their staff. Though I did find an error in here for the notification. Again, they had the old Etna Township at etnatownship.com email address.
Yep.
That should be office at.
Yep.
Reviewing the other stuff, to me, it looked fine. If we wanted others to review it, I mean, I think it's basic. They incorporate that 2024-58 resolution, and so, I mean, I'm fine passing it.
Do you want to wait till next meeting, or do you want to?
Okay, if there's no urgency, we can
Ms.
wait.
McKee, do you have anything?
Are we gonna have it reviewed then, or?
Well, that's my question. The problem, again, do you want to pay again, or do you want to wait and get it
Can
to
the
the
prosecutor
prosecutor?
review it?
They can.
But how far, I mean, we would have to do a resolution tonight to get it to the prosecutor.
Well, we wouldn't have it tonight, but.
Well, I'm saying we would have to approve it tonight to get the resolution. So we can put, remember,
Oh, I know, yeah.
What I think moving forward we need to do, so they're not going off of audio anymore?
Well, we thought, but we had a recent thing with which is one of the reasons the zoning department, we're trying to get a hold of him, and the prosecutor advised us, oh no, now you have to have a resolution, and we thought the audio was gonna be enough. I think there's some confusion.
Well, I
The
think
audio was only to show that it was approved.
Right.
correct.
That was the only, it
Well,
was that
what I think we should do
versus approved minutes.
moving forward is have a blank resolution, blank number, prosecutor approval, where we can just write in whatever we want, number it, and we're done.
I think it's a good
I
suggestion.
mean, we could even do it now, just have one printed up, and we could take the past approval,
Do we have a
do the next
resolution
one,
number?
clear it, and throw it in there. I don't think it would be, I just think that, I mean, you could add that certificate of occupancy to it, there, just whatever, and then as time, whatever's most urgent, go for that.
Well,
And
we'll
just
need a
get down.
we can put that
So
together.
that'd be
but we-
2025-009. That would be the resolution.
No,
No.
that's
No.
the final budget. Next resolution number that's available is 13.
13, okay.
I'll accept a motion with, that will have to include we already have a number for the other prosecutor opinion on the occupancy.
No, we don't have that
We
resolution.
don't have that one.
So we just added,
We can do 13 for the occupancy, and then we can do 14 for,
I'll move to approve resolution 2025-013, requesting prosecutor opinion on the NCA agreement and the certificate of occupancy issue.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Thank you. I
Do
think
you want to
that'll-
add the other thing that needs to be added to the prosecutor
Was there another one?
about the vacation?
Oh,
Oh, we did not. Well, I thought, I don't know if I
She
can
has
say
to
it.
do hers by resolution now also.
We need to push back on this. That's,
I didn't know that. When did that start?
It happened.
that could be Albrecht.
Okay.
Right, because that's employment, yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. Yep.
So just those two, so that's why I moved. Was there a second?
Yeah, I seconded it, so any further discussion, that'll get those moving along. If none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
It's passed, thank you.
Like I said, Holly, in the future, could we just have a blank one that we could just write in what we need?
Yeah, the Word one that you had for me, that,
Just for the request, it says prosecutor request.
Give it another name.
We'll just leave the number blank and we'll just do it on the fly if we
Right, but
need.
I'll still keep my log.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And there is actually a template that we can use from the last one that we had. You can just use all the same language and just take out.
right.
We'll just
What they
number
were.
and you don't
Right.
use them, strike them,
So I'm saying, is
Resolu-
you can
that's-
just
we're
use
done.
that as a template, the one that I had created.
meeting date,
Yeah.
blank,
Yeah.
just.
Liberty Christian touch-up truck event, Mr. Evans.
Yeah, I was contacted by, I think Natalie Edwards, who's organizing the event for Liberty Christian, wanted to know if we would participate. It's May 3rd, a Saturday from 11 to 1. I spoke to Mr. Copley about his thoughts on it. He thought it was a great idea. I'm thinking probably like the mower max and maybe one of our dump trucks, or I think he could talk to the individual there. I also referred her to Wind Waste because I thought, hey, garbage truck. And then also I spoke to the fire chief about getting the fire district there too. So made those connections. So it is an event for Liberty Christian, so it's not a community-wide event. However, I think it would still be important to participate. There's going to be, she said, a couple hundred families participating, and they're going to have other food trucks and stuff like that. But it is just so it's not a community event.
Right.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I think it's a great idea.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to participate, that Etna Township participates in that event.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Very supportive of it, sounds great. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Item D, I had that put on there. I've had some people inquire about wanting to do some part-time clerical work. I don't think you have those inquiries yet in your packet or anything, but I'd like to get those to you for the next meeting. Individuals here in the community that would like to work maybe 2 to 3 days a week.
Well, I think that if we're going to do that, we should post it. If we're going to accept applications from a few people, and I think make sure we get a full thing. But I really think that we kind of, my thought is to bringing people in of more like a legal secretary background that can really dig into things, very precise, very I guess methodical with stuff, because we are behind on quite a bit. And even at the zoning commission we talked about that there's a lot placed on Ms. Palumbo's shoulders between minutes, between zoning commission, BZA. It's quite a bit, and we need to support her and the others. So I think it's nice that we put it out to the community, but I think we need somebody professional in here, at least for the foreseeable future.
What job description do you want?
Well,
Can you provide one?
yeah, I can. I can provide that for the next meeting.
Well, provide it to the board ahead of time so we
Yep.
can have it prepared. And salary range and hours per week. Did you have any comments?
I mean, the only thing I would ask is, Ms. Palumbo, you know your workload. You know what we need to do, and that. Do you think it entails a full-time position coming in to kind of catch up, or part-time?
Part-time.
How many hours a week?
20.
Okay. And with that, you think we're going to be able to handle all the BZA, the zoning stuff, the minutes, the everything?
Because honestly, the minutes is what takes a chunk of it up. Not the fact that I can't get them done. It's, I'll be honest, and with all due respect, it is getting them approved that takes up the majority of the time. But, because, like I said, I just sent you guys the 11th and the 4th for February, and I have to do the 18th.
Well, getting them approved, I mean, that doesn't add more time, but I still say, I mean, one of the examples was tonight's meeting. It wasn't set up with motion, like, we need to, setting it up, and I used to do that with Holly of, hey, we don't have this, executive sessions and the members only, we gotta, if it's set up properly, I think it'll be much more efficient, and again, we need to get away from verbatim minutes that it's taking, I'm sure you're probably re-listening the entire meeting, correct?
Correct.
That
But
shouldn't
I do
happen.
short- But see, the thing is though, I do shorthand and diligent. So I'm not gonna write the minutes and have them perfect when we leave here. So I have to go back and I have to make sure that I have the votes right and that, Ms. McKee said what she said, you said what you said.
I just think if we slow down a little bit, like at the, Ms. McKee's probably seeing now at the fire district of how the fiscal officer keeps the votes and stuff like that. If we can, the votes are important, but even just like highlight of what the concerns are and that, it shouldn't take much time and we can move forward. So, but yeah, I'll get the job description and I think we can move forward.
Well-
We definitely need to dig out from where we're at.
Well, this is the thing, I think that once we get that administrator in the office, they can be more hands-on. And it sounds like a lot of this is time management. Throwing money at the problem is not fixing the problem. Getting somebody in here, managing the office, they can also help with some of the things that Holly's not caught up with and make some suggestions. But just throwing money at it, we just keep throwing money, keep spending money. That's not fixing the problem.
No,
And I understand we have more work here, or not more work, we have work here because we had Laura here. And Laura worked and she maintained working in the office as well as the board's minutes as well. Yes, she got a little bit behind, but it wasn't to the point we had to hire somebody to come in the office to help her.
Well,
So what my point is, get the administrator in here, let them look at the bird's eye view of what's going on in the office, make some suggestions and plan some things.
well, I would say we're really familiar, and like I said, the zoning commission, it was discussed of how behind we are, not just the last year, not just the last 3, but the last 10, 12 years, that things were not done. And that's why things could, so we need, it's not throwing money, it's just time. You only have
We
so much
understand,
time.
let's bring it, okay, we've had this.
I'll bring it to the board.
Bring it to the board and everyone will have an input on that as well, full board. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-011 Township Administrator? You have the resolution, the updated resolution in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve 2025-011 administrative resolution.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion? The motion fails. Is there a motion for resolution 2025-012 regarding the township, prospective township planner?
That's your board.
I just moved to table that indefinitely since the candidate withdrew.
Not to a date certain?
We don't know when we're gonna have any other,
Well, that's what
until it's pulled from the table.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
For the planner, I'm sorry.
Table for
I'm
the
sorry, we're on
planner.
table to plan, yeah.
Right. Fiscal officer report. We have a resolution.
I can't believe y'all did this.
Is there a resolution to approve, resolution 2025-010 to approve the purchase orders?
So moved.
Second. Fiscal officer, do you have, Ms. Coutinho, anything to, you want to
Give me a
come?
second.
I did.
Burkholder did.
I did.
All right. Not to that, no.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Is there a motion to ratify the payment of the bills as shown on the payment listing, which I believe we got here tonight?
So moved.
Second. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, the payments are incorrect. Are these created with a report, or are these manually created? The payment listing? You have my trustee payment as $2,450.78, which it is not.
No, that was supposed to be switched.
Switch to,
That's mine and Mark's is mine.
yeah, because I was gonna say, Mr. Evans, is a lot more than I was getting paid, so.
Well, I'm worth it.
So those two were flipped.
So this isn't generated by the system? Can it? Because I'm concerned that
No, I go.
what
in-
other errors are there?
That's it. So I go in there and write the checks to here. And that's the payroll checks.
So you're saying the UAN can't produce a report
No, it
of?
doesn't report. It does do a check register, but it doesn't do it in this form.
I'm-
It used to.
I'm just concerned about being able to rely on it. Like I said, that was
This
easy
is the
for
way
me to
you-
pick out of that error, but the other ones,
I understand what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying?
UAN,
You sure, and you're sure that you can't kick out
It
that
doesn't
report?
kick out into Excel, no.
it doesn't generate a,
That just seems weird that an accounting system.
oh, I know, and it's like the invoices, yeah.
Have you asked Chris?
I agree with you, so,
Yes.
okay.
And I've even talked to UAN.
Motion to amend,
I can go change that.
motion to
Okay.
amend as corrected.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
Roll call on the amendment to correct.
Or you could just give me your thing.
Yeah.
no.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
and a roll call on the main motion now,
Oh,
please.
man.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, back to him. I finally got January done, because we got so close.
Yep.
The balance as of January 31st is $8.791 million. Outstanding payments are about 57,000. Payments out this month was 261,000. We got $215,000 in.
Okay.
That's all.
Do we have that forwarded to us? I don't see.
Yes, I sent that
Was it yesterday?
yesterday.
Yeah, let's check.
With the bank statement?
Yes. Well, yes, I thought so. But if not, I can send it with the bank statement.
I see the
anyone,
reconciliation, appropriation, fund summary, and revenue. I don't see a bank
Bank
statement.
statement because I was in a hurry.
Okay, that and the star account, please.
anyone like to make public comments at this time? 2 minutes, please come forward, state your name and
I want to go fix it.
address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road, Southwest. Just a few minutes ago, you voted, or you didn't get a second to a motion about this township administrator. Does that mean you're not going to hire a township
Yeah,
administrator?
they're hiring one.
What's that all
They're paying
about?
$14,000 a month. They're hiring an intern.
We
Yeah.
agreed for an interim.
Interim,
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So,
and that's not a permanent, that's by contract.
okay.
Yes,
That's
good
it.
question. Thank
So
you.
you can get, so we'll have somebody in the township, and Mr. Burko doesn't have to be here every day. That will help, because Susan's gone, her last day was Friday.
Sir?
Matthew Rosberg, 46 Cedar Park Boulevard. The first question would be, is if we're going to spend $168,000 a year on an administrator interim, which comes out to $3,200 a week, or a lovely total of $80.77 an hour, are we going to install a time clock that the citizens know that we're getting our full 40 hours out of this interim person?
Well, it'll be, that will probably be 40 plus hours.
Well, the contract's for 40, and I think the residents would like to know if we're getting our full 40 out of someone who we're paying set $80
Well, it
an
won't be a
hour.
time clock, but we'll make certain that, yes, we're getting our full 40, which is actually, but that does not include benefits.
I understand that doesn't
Right.
include benefits. The next question is that the residents would really like to know why we've got a candidate who's come in here twice and has been passed on. I think we deserve an explanation on why they were not a good fit for us.
Well, all I can tell you is that there was great discussion in executive session, which is not revealable, confidential. And secondly, this is an interim position. So that doesn't mean that any previous candidate may not be considered at a later date.
This is a lot of money we are paying out. You know, we're bickering over half of a gator, and instead we'd like to know where $168,000 is going when we have a candidate who's sitting here. Like that's.
Yeah. Well, let me say this while you're standing there, because Mr. Burkholder spoke, so I'm gonna go ahead and speak. Normally, we don't like to speak. Give you guys your opportunity to speak and take your time.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Burkholder. We signed a resolution several months ago, and in that resolution, we were going with a particular company, which is the same company. And we had the top 3 candidates. And this gentleman right here, Mr. Bill here, was one of the top 3. Susan was the one we finalized. She's no longer gonna stay with the township, as you know. She's going back to her previous position, okay? The other gentleman that we saw that we were gonna hire, he decided not to stay either because he wanted a certain amount of money that we just decided we wouldn't pay that, okay, as a board. And now we have the third candidate here.
Go ahead,
That's
Mr.
willing to take.
We didn't decide any-
Don't say go ahead.
we didn't
I'm still
decide as a
speaking.
board.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Well, hold it, go ahead.
And I want to finish
Go ahead.
because, you know, it's all about what's going to happen here in this township. Mr. Burkholder's campaigning. He shouldn't be here in the township every day. So we need somebody here in this township. This gentleman here is the third candidate that we finalized in our interview process. So I don't know where it went.
We didn't finalize anything.
Yes, we did. He was the top.
No, we didn't, because you
Yes,
can't,
we
but
did.
you cannot vote.
Mr.
Executive
Burkholder,
session.
we had 3 top candidates. He was in the top 3 candidates,
Yes,
is
he
what I was
was.
saying. So let me just clarify
And
that.
I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This
Go ahead.
contract is an interim contract. That does not mean it is a permanent hire for that person. But the urgency of getting someone in here as soon as possible, if it can be a week, if it can be less than a week or 2 weeks, is critical for the benefit of the township. There are various factors that get discussed in negotiations for a township administrator. So in fairness to Mr. Spurgeon, which I don't think we should be discussing that in front of the public, as I want to reiterate, this does not mean that this is going to be a permanent hire. It's an interim situation to take care of the emergency situation that we find ourselves in. In the last 14 months, we've lost 2 township administrators for various reasons.
Wonder why.
And it's had, and I can attest directly, firsthand knowledge, it's been detrimental to the best interest. You have a very valid and good question, so I'm not offended by the question. But I want to make it perfectly clear, in fairness to all the applicants, there were various reasons. It was a tough decision. It's a 2-to-1 decision. And now we're going to move forward with that. But I don't want anyone to think, well, gee, you know, you hired someone interim, and is that going to be permanent? That's down the road. So we'll see. We'll see how the next 90 or 120 days go. But there are major decisions and major developments that are coming in, and we're not keeping up. We've got grants out there that we've got to go ahead and execute on and do things, and that's why we're moving forward with the High Point Park. We've got deadlines to make here, and they're not getting met for a variety of reasons. We don't have the staffing. We've lost some other people now.
And the only thing I'll add on that is, yeah, if you go to an annual for that $14,000 a month, it's $168. But again, like Ms. Burkholder says, there's no benefits, no medical, no vacation time, and that they're only paid what they're using. So the 4 weeks that might get, we're saving $14,000 there. We're not paying, and nothing against the other candidates but this person's resume, for a reason that they want to come into this area, is pretty impressive. I think they can hit the ground running. They've been administrator before, they have that experience. I think that's what's really needed right now. So it is hopefully something temporary. We do need to move forward with a permanent fix. I've actually got a Teams meeting tomorrow with another search firm to see maybe what they can offer. And they have a different kind of fee schedule and they actually guarantee if one doesn't work out, you're not paying another one to find that. So I think we're a little bit in flux, but it's not done callously, at least on my side. And I want the best for the township, and I think we need to make sure that we get that. And that's what I'm pushing for.
Who's, thank you.
I was gonna say one last thing, just because I think I lost a little bit.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I would say if you're going to employ another firm, I think we should definitely have a clause in there to where if they don't last certain benchmarks, they don't get their fee. Our company has went to that, and we just recently saved 10 grand on a poor candidate they sent us because they not only did not complete 120 days, they stole from us. So I implore you to add a clause like that in any future.
No, most definitely, and like I said, I haven't spoke to anybody directly, but in researching them, they do have that where if someone leaves before a certain set time, that they will actually, for no additional cost, get another candidate at your approval. And so there's different terms in that, and like I said, it's not just this company.
Let's give everybody else a chance.
And we
So,
shouldn't have
thank
to
you.
just keep paying out money to these.
Who's next and would like to come up, please?
Adam Kelly at 8990 Smoke Road, Southwest. I just wanted to point out, at the risk of making an already long meeting longer, at the beginning, you guys had amended the agenda to add G to the new business for prosecutor opinion on certificate of occupancy.
And we added that with the other, we did two of them with the earlier
Oh, I
one.
must have missed it.
Yep.
I must have
Yeah,
fallen asleep
we
in the meeting.
provided.
Yeah, so we got
So it's done?
it.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I just want to make sure it got done.
Thank you.
John Hanson, Ridgewood Drive, Etna, Ohio. So, who is the consulting company here you're hiring? And why weren't they brought on to the experience? Is this another Cincinnati hire? This is another company from Cincinnati?
This is the same
Or
one
Dave.
that we used.
Same one we use.
You mean this is just for placing somebody interim while you spend another $20,000 to find more candidates?
No, we haven't made any decision to find more candidates at this time. This is an interim. This is.
Mark streamed like a baby over 130, now 160 is no problem?
Well,
And then,
Experience.
what do you have
It's
against
your
having
thoughts.
somebody
Sorry, guys.
local that's invested into the township? You're not even picking Licking County people. You moved all the attorney stuff to Cincinnati. When you guys sued me, everything came out of, I can't remember the little town, but it's basically Dayton. So all your law firms, everything you've disrupted and moved is just based on all the stuff that you had in Brookville or wherever you were.
that's
before.
not correct.
It
That's
kind of
not-
seems like the same people.
Rickard Graydon is located here in Columbus.
I understand all about Rickard Graydon and the merger, but they're ran out of Cincinnati and Dayton.
No, they're not. They have an office here in Columbus.
They have an office, all the decisions come out of there. And apparently all the word processing and mailing came out of Dayton too. So, what you're doing is you're just avoiding local experts.
Well, I disagree, but you have.
Police.
And Mr. Evans is wondering why people withdraw. How could anybody sit in one of these meetings and not withdraw? On your zoning people, you complain about more and more and more withdrawal. But look at Facebook and look at all the attacks. You attack your own people you work with. You have an inability to work with anybody. Anybody. You drove out 10 people out of this building.
Nope.
Yes, you have. The whole BZA, all the people in there, and now 3 administrators.
Nope. Zoning commission finally came around to what I was telling for over a year, and they've seen what's going on. You're just spewing nonsense for political purposes.
Well, that's not
I'm
true.
for
Mr.
political
Evans.
purposes?
Yes.
That's rich.
That's
Mr.
not true,
Evans.
Mr. Evans.
Well,
about
Yes, it
the
is
zoning
true.
commission. No, it's not.
No, it's not true.
It's not true about the
Bully
zoning
yourself.
commission.
It is.
No, it's not.
You want to listen to it?
I know, because I worked with
No,
this.
no, no.
I worked with
When the
this
chair says that
commission.
she found out something so bad
She
that
just
she
wanted
can't
you to
even
stop,
say
Mark.
it.
You had
Stop.
bullied her. She
You're out
wanted
of
you to
order.
stop.
Mr. Hanson,
But-
you
but
got,
anyway.
go ahead, you got 50 seconds.
The certificate of occupancy.
All right, you have sued your own township 4 times, I think. I'm losing count. 4 times, and plus all the other personal things. How do we trust our trustees? You guys don't even trust each other. Especially you, Mr. Evans, you're always on the attack.
Pushing for what's right and legal.
Well, in your mind.
Did we win that BZA case?
What BZA case?
Caldo Concrete? Is that protected now?
What does that have to do with
From
me?
a plant?
Yeah.
I think that's out of order. Go ahead,
That's
Mr.
out of
Hanson,
order.
finish up.
Okay,
Finish up, Mr. Hanson.
I think I've finished here, but I would like Mr. Evans, with all your, grandstanding, why don't you stand up and apologize for what you've done to this township and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you've costed,
No.
coming out on July 2nd with the profanity. Yeah, I know you point to Gary all the time.
He was point person, and he refused, he did not get the BZA.
We're not going to
counsel.
relitigate the past because there are obviously.
It's a very recent
I could
past.
prove everything I stated.
Well, do you have anything else, Mr. Hanson? I want to be fair to you.
It's somehow you're not able to prove everything you state in court.
No. Well, when things are withheld from you purposely,
You're out of order, Mr. Evans.
No, it is true.
You
I've got
are
the
out
email.
of order.
the day
You're
before,
out of order.
by the administrator, when they
You're out
gave
of order.
access
You
to the
will
other
not-
attorney,
You
weeks
are out
prior.
of order. You will not malign Mr. Davis. State your name and address, please.
Ryan Davis, 8807 Watkins Road. Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make sure I get my public comments. I'm not looking for replies on my comments.
Thank you,
But,
sir.
The 2 things I'd like to mention. One, for the people that were not here, and I don't know how the recordings work, if everybody's going to be seen or not, but the gentleman that was here for the zoning position, I wish, again, I respect the sanctity of the room you're in, but he was in and out in 5 minutes. And I don't think that was a decision based on facts of the position. I think there was probably a little bit of what we see on a nightly basis here in the township with discussion. So what I also wanted to say on a positive note, though, was the NCA was very happy to actually give money to the cause of the township. And we had mentioned and offered to Mr. Burkholder, as this park and other opportunities develop, we encourage you guys to come back with plans for opportunities to improve the township, because that's the whole reason that board was created, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So I just want to say that. Hope you guys can come up with some more fun stuff that we can use for the township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Perkins, 7352 Palmer Road. I've been listening to the whole planner thing going back and forth between the room, and I just wanted to maybe throw out the idea, if the board was amenable, which I'm going to be reserved in my optimism on that the third choice previous could be the interim.
You're talking about the planner?
Yes.
Well, we only had really 2 qualified for consideration, and 1 did not show up, and so, but the discussion we had tonight, I can only tell you, was very positive, and no one should make any assumptions that the board, had disagreement on anything. There were other factors that should not be revealed to the public in respect.
As I read faces, I don't necessarily agree with that previous comment about there was no dissension within the board, but anyway.
Well, I can tell you it's true, because we had a very candid with the application, who is a very fine person, very fine candidate, but after meaningful discussion, and so it wasn't that we weren't ready to make a decision.
So on the administrator.
Yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
The interim administrator that was discussed, we still had our third place from previous election, correct? That is still potentially interested?
Yes, we did have our third candidate, yes.
Well, would be my recommendation that they be considered for the interim position.
Well, the decision's been made on a contractual basis so that we have an option.
Was said candidate through the same firm?
Well, I'm not going to reveal anymore because it is personnel.
Well,
I can understand that, but I'm just
I'm
just throwing an idea.
I want to respect all candidates that have applied for this. And an interim basis, a person coming in for that knows it's not a full-time, it's not a guaranteed position. But if you consider a candidate that's looking for a full-time permanent position, they may not want to come in for an interim, because if it's only for 120 days, they know coming in that they may not have a job in 120 days.
Well, I'm also concerned as a resident because I've seen plenty of past history, not pointing in any particular direction, of selections being made based off political expediency rather than experience. And I'm not directing that at you.
Well,
I'm
no,
not directing that at any member of the board.
understand.
I'm only looking at that as a citizen.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you that the interim candidate does have the experience and can hit the ground running.
And that's exactly why I didn't want to hear that from you right now. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Very good. Announcements, trustee comments. Next meeting, regular meeting will be Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And am I correct, our zoning commission hearing on the text amendment is going to be on Wednesday,
Wednesday the 19th at 6 o'clock.
March 19th at 6 o'clock here. And that is on a text amendment.
And that's for the zoning commission?
Yes.
But that's the one that they're going to open and then,
They will take comments, they'll open it, they'll take comments in order to make the timing so we don't have to reinitiate that text amendment. Which, by the way, Mr. Evans, I worked directly with just so you know, I worked directly with the administrator and with our zoning inspector to make the necessary adjustments so that we can always make the timeline to get these text amendments or rezonings down to the Licking County Planning Commission, but that adjustment will be considered at their
there's
their
no
next
adjustment
meeting.
needed. It's just 5 days within them motioning to send it forward. And
Well,
it's the same thing I've been stating for over a
Well,
year.
Mr. Evans,
When you thought it came
Mr.
to the
Evans.
trustees first, not Licking
no,
County.
that's not correct, Mr.
You-
Evans. I've
you
been
did
working
say
on,
that.
I've had that flow chart down there. There's 3 ways you can initiate it. The property owner, you can initiate with the board of trustees, or
By
you
resolution.
can initiate it from the zoning commission.
Motion.
And in the past, we had staff that did a lot of the support work for the zoning commission.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is
The
why
one that y'all ran off.
why they got that down there timely. So, Mr. Evans, I know what I'm talking about
No, the
because I
zoning
worked with the
commission even stated
administrator.
that it wasn't done properly before. That's why deadlines, there were no issues because they just were doing whatever they want. And like I said, it's pretty simple. And
Mr.
the
Evans,
chair and you both said it should
Mr.
go to the
Evans,
trustees.
you're out of order. Not going to argue with you.
It's
and
very
waste
simple
Any more time. Mr.
to
Evans,
do.
I know what I'm talking about because
No,
I
you
worked
don't.
with him specifically. Well, you'll find out at the next zoning
I got
commission
comments.
meeting.
Well, yeah, you
Go ahead,
finally-
Ms.
I just
McKee.
have a question. I know Susan was working on, I guess, turning over the situation in regards to our fiscal officer with Mr. Evans. Can you tell me where we are on that? Did that could get turned over to Brickler and Eckler? I know Susan was supposed to work with them on that one.
Regarding,
The quote-unquote investigation when Ms.
Yes,
Varian told you
yes,
already, Ms.
yes,
Burkholder, that she accessed
correct.
it?
Correct.
yes,
Where is that?
that documents have been submitted to our attorney at,
Wait, what,
Ricker?
yes.
so they're not seeking other documents? Did you provide your call log that I requested as a public record,
I'm not
showing that Ms. Varian called you?
I'm not going to answer any of your questions regarding an active investigation, Mr. Evans.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a public records request.
Exactly, really? Well, I don't
Another
know.
lie.
You sent it
That's
to.
why Ms. Varian said she's done with you.
You sent it to, well, you can make all the accusations you want. You have
I've got it
anything-
in text.
You have anything else?
I'm done. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Very good.
And I'd like to
Thank
just.
you. Move to adjourn?
No,
Wait,
Is there a second?
What a slime ball move.
Why?
See, you're gonna have me speaking up there every time because you want to silence me.
Did you have
Silence me.
something?
You know it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Evans,
What do you
are we
got?
doing a
No,
roll call?
go ahead. What do you got?
My Lord.
You can't even compose
Again,
yourself.
live streaming, fourth proposal, simple plug-in camera. We already have ports open, simple to install. That would be available for all meetings. Provide just plug and play to the YouTube channel for live streaming and archiving. Again, ignored. The prosecutor's opinion, I was told by the administrator at the last meeting that the public records request opinion was forwarded to them. It was not. It was forwarded, I believe, on the 28th. So that was not done. That's a real issue, that things aren't being done. Again, the certificate of occupancy, that's a lack of oversight and supervision, that things like that aren't being addressed properly, and to try to add it to the agenda.
Are you going to continue to?
No, I'm speaking under my,
administrator?
I am speaking under my comments. So again, for this board to refuse to even have a discussion about an ongoing issue that I spoke with the zoning inspector about, that he needed that authorization and it was denied, at first was just shocking again. And now, the zoning commission finally started following what I said was the requirement for over a year, and listen to that meeting. They stated how bad it is. They didn't realize how bad things have gotten. They haven't gotten the support. We've hired consultants that were supposed to train them. They haven't received training. BZA members have received zero training. We need to support these people, and we've hired the consultants, but they're controlled by Mr. Burkholder, so nothing gets done. Again, diligent. It's a very efficient system, can provide transparency, even integrate the live streaming. It's stymied, not done. We had the TIRC, JED, and JED-Z resignation on 2/4 after they were appointed on 1/21. No action on this board, just ignore it.
No.
Why fill that?
I gave the direction to have that.
Excuse me, this is my time. And I even had here the investigation. What's going on? Because supposedly documents have been submitted, yet I wasn't contacted for my documents. I don't know who else wasn't. I mean, is this just another sham investigation that isn't going to provide any real look at what's going on? And again, Mr. Burkholder, I requested in their public records your call logs that will show that Julie Varian called you on December 13th, and I can't just make that out of thin air. That will show she called and told you that. She accessed it, and I've even asked for Ms. Coutinho to provide the prior logins as the records request. That's been ignored. No. It's public record.
Okay, Mr. Evans.
And again, the public records requests are intentionally being withheld when our former administrator waited until Sunday morning at 8:45, the day before the CPO hearing, on the threat. That is not proper to review all that stuff, yet she gave Ms. Coutinho's boyfriend access weeks prior.
No.
This
we
is
gave
what's
everybody
wrong.
weeks prior.
Is there a second?
This is what's wrong.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
I mean, we can't even have proper payment listings. We can't.
Excuse me, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're adjourned, by the way, so.
When public records are withheld, but yeah.
That's not true.
Oh, I've got the email.
Not true.
And just wait until you see the video of October or December 26th of the
Keep making
illegal meeting.
What illegal meeting?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Really?
The one where Kirby and I were in there talking?
with McKee
With
and
McKee.
Burkholder.
Mr. Burkholder came and asked how our holiday was. That was it.
Make
Nope.
your accusations, don't even bother with them.
It's not even
Are
worth
we
it.
gonna assign notaries outside of the view?
You know what, Mr. Evans? How about if
Did you
we
not
just...
do that? Holly, did she not
You
offer
were out
that?
of order.
I
You're
am
out of
not
order.
usually involved
No,
in
that was mine at
this.
this
You
point.
need to leave the hall.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do not have an
You're not
office
gonna
here.
continue
You're
to
smart,
harass
well,
them.
but you're still here.
You lie.
You've already proven to the court
Okay,
that
but
you're
you're-
incapable.
Oh, please. Yeah. The administrator withholding access?
That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
I have the emails. I have the text.
So do
You're gonna
I.
get yourself in
No,
trouble
I'm not.
again. Yes, you
Nope.
are.
Mr. McKee, Mr.
I
Evans.
can't help when people lie. Just what we need at the court.